Have you heard about sexually transmitted ringworm? I feel like I might have it in my throat. That is a sentence that Brandi Glanville said out loud on her podcast in May 2026 to a former adult film star while describing a man she dated who did a lot of wrestling and only wanted to do things to her face because he didn't want to get her pregnant. And she didn't even know he had already set sail on that ship. That is peak Brandi Glanville. And before you click away thinking this is just a weird celebrity health story, stay with me because the ringworm announcement is only the latest chapter in one of the wildest, most chaotic, most genuinely heartbreaking multi-year saga in the entire Bravo universe. This woman has been through a public divorce, a humiliating affair, years of financial struggle, a 2-year facial disfigurement caused by ruptured breast implants, a sexual harassment lawsuit against one of television's most powerful men. A counter-lawsuit, a lawsuit she filed herself, lawyers who dropped her, accusations she can't shake, and a health odyssey that saw her in hospitals for 3 years consulting 21 doctors and posting photos of her own face while something moved underneath her skin. Sexually transmitted ringworm is simply the newest plot twist. And to understand why it matters, you need to know the whole story. So, we're going back all the way. Brandi Glanville, 53, grew up in Sacramento, California. She became a model in her early 20s, eventually moving into the orbit of Hollywood entertainment. She met actor Eddie Cibrian in 1998, got engaged to him in 1999, and married him in April 2001. They had 2 sons together, Mason, born in 2003, and Jake, born in 2007. By all accounts, they were a picture-perfect couple. Beautiful, successful. And then, in 2009, it all fell apart in the most public way possible. Eddie Cibrian was cast in a Lifetime movie called Northern Lights, co-starring a then extremely famous country music singer named LeAnn Rimes. Both of them were married. Both of them started an affair on set. By July 2009, Brandi was announcing their separation. Eddie filed for divorce in August. Their divorce was finalized in September 2010. By December 2011, Eddie had married LeAnn Rimes. The pain of that chapter was not processed quietly. Brandi has described her state in those years as raw rage. She once wrote that she walked up to a children's soccer game and found 2-year-old Jake sitting in LeAnn's lap. "I had this rage in my body," she wrote. "I walked over to her, grabbed Jake, and I looked at her and said, 'I will murder you.'" She has said she didn't cope well, that she was drinking Chardonnay specifically, which became something of a brand for her, and felt completely abandoned. She didn't get a generous divorce settlement. She later described coming out of that marriage with essentially nothing, while LeAnn Rimes, with her country music income, became the stepmother to Brandi's children and moved into the kind of life Brandi had expected to have. And as of May 2026, when casting rumors surfaced that LeAnn Rimes might actually join Rob as a cast member, Brandi posted on X, "I hope it's true. I mean, she got everything else of mine. Husband, kids, boobs, Bronco, random illnesses. She might as well just be a housewife and finish it off once and for all." The word boobs is going to become relevant in a few minutes. In late 2011, in the middle of all that chaos, Brandi Glanville was cast on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills as a friend. She became a main cast member by Season 3. She stayed through Season 5, roughly 2012 to 2015, with brief guest appearances in Season 6, 9, and 10. Her time on the show was, there is no other word for it, explosive. She was the woman who had been publicly cheated on and publicly left. She came on to a show full of established friendships, established hierarchies, and established rules about what you say out loud and what you don't. Brandi Glanville did not know those rules or did not care about them. She told Joyce Giroux didn't like her because she had black hair. She said Kim Richards was in the bathroom doing crystal meth at a white party, a claim that seasons later turned out to not be entirely unfounded when Kim's addiction became a major storyline. She called Adrienne Malouf's family white trash at a dinner table. She made enemies fast. She also made fans fast. Because for a lot of people watching, Brandi said the thing you were thinking, but that nobody with a contract and a publicist ever actually said. She was completely unfiltered, frequently wrong in her delivery, and often right in her instincts. But she also did not play well politically, and Bravo eventually moved on from her. By the time she left the show permanently around 2015, she was in debt, out of work, and without the support structure she might have had if the marriage had lasted. She pivoted to podcasting. Brandi Glanville Unfiltered became her platform and has kept one foot in the Bravo universe through guest spots and general cultural relevance. Then came Morocco. In early January 2023, Brandi Glanville was cast in the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 4, filmed in Marrakesh, Morocco. The cast also included Caroline Manzo, a legendary Real Housewives of New Jersey original, along with Camille Grammer, Phaedra Parks, Vicky Gunvalson, Gretchen Rossi. What happened on that trip resulted in an episode that has never aired and, according to Bravo, will never air. The production was buried. And then the lawsuit started. In January 2024, Caroline Manzo filed a lawsuit against Bravo and its parent companies alleging that she was sexually harassed and sexually assaulted by Brandi Glanville on the set. The allegations in the court filing were graphic and specific. They described multiple incidents of Brandi allegedly kissing Caroline without consent, mounting her on a couch, and forcibly restraining her. The filing alleged that Brandi then followed Caroline to a bathroom, knocked her head against the door, and locked her inside. Brandi categorically denied everything. She told her own version of events that the interaction was consensual, jokey, and that Caroline had never said she was uncomfortable at the time. The show's executive producer, Shannon O'Brien, filed a legal response stating that while Brandi disrespected Caroline, she did not sexually violate her, and that Caroline had told production at the time that she was not assaulted, only that the incident had triggered memories of past childhood trauma. The producer noted that Caroline told the team she felt safe, wanted to continue filming, and did not want Brandi removed from set. But the public damage was done. The season was shelved. Caroline Manzo, who said she would never do another Bravo show after this, was done with the franchise. Brandi was done with any hope of a return to good standing. In July 2024, Brandi filed her own lawsuit against Bravo alleging that she was held hostage in a hotel in Morocco after the incident, that Bravo had used the allegations against her to effectively cancel her career, that she had been fired from other projects as a result, and that the network had caused her stress-induced illnesses that left her unable to work. She said she canceled from all jobs. Then, also in 2024, the whole situation around Andy Cohen exploded. In February 2024, Brandi's attorneys sent a legal letter to NBC Universal, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Shed Media, formally accusing Andy Cohen of sexual harassment. The specific allegation: in 2022, Andy sent Brandi a video in which he appeared, per the letter, obviously inebriated. And in the video, he allegedly boasted of his intention to sleep with another Bravo star that night while thinking of her, and invited her to watch via FaceTime. The Bravo star in question was reportedly below-deck alum Kate Chastain. The letter from her attorneys called it an extraordinary abuse of power, noting that Andy was her employer, exercised complete and total control over her career, and left her feeling trapped and disgusted. Andy Cohen responded on X the same day. He admitted the video existed, but he characterized it completely differently. He said, "The video shows Kate Chastain and I very clearly joking to Brandi. It was absolutely meant in jest, and Brandi's response clearly communicated she was in on the joke. That said, it was totally inappropriate and I apologize." He apologized. He also said it was a joke. Those two things live in an uncomfortable middle space. High-profile attorneys Brian Friedman and Mark Garagos, who have represented major clients across Hollywood, sent the initial letter and were preparing to file a full lawsuit. But then something strange happened. By September 2024, Brandi went on social media and announced her lawyers had cut ties. She deleted the post shortly after. By October, Page Six was reporting that the attorneys pulled out of the case specifically because of the sexual harassment allegations against Brandi herself from Caroline Manzo. According to sources close to the situation, The counter-allegations made Brandi difficult to represent in a harassment case. Brandi publicly suggested on X that her lawyers had been paid off. She found new representation, but the big lawsuit never materialized. Meanwhile, a Bravo outside investigation into both Brandi's claims and Leah McSweeney's separate claims against Andy concluded that the allegations were unsubstantiated. Andy Cohen remained employed. Brandi was left with a podcast, some social media heat, and a face that was starting to do something alarming. This is the health story that for many viewers redefined who Brandi Glanville is in the public consciousness. Because watching someone post photos of their own disfigured face month after month, procedure after procedure, biopsy after biopsy, while clearly suffering and while a significant portion of the internet either laughs or disbelieves them, is a specific kind of public nightmare. It started with Morocco, or at least that's where Brandi initially placed the origin. She began noticing swelling and changes in her face in mid-2024, roughly 6 months after filming Wrapped. She described something moving under her skin. By December 2024, she went public with photos that shocked viewers who hadn't been following the story. Her face visibly swollen, distorted, unrecognizable compared to how she had looked even a year before. She said doctors theorized she had a parasite that was jumping around her face. She described it as feeling like tiny bubbles bursting under her skin. She said at one point it felt like it was or having babies in her face. She also, in a moment of dark Bravo world humor, named the parasite after a former Real Housewives of New Jersey star, though Bravo's lawyers would probably prefer that name not be amplified. She spent time hospitalized. She became essentially housebound for stretches of months. She consulted 21 different doctors. She paid $70,000 for treatments that didn't work. She enlisted Dr. Terry Dubrow, the plastic surgeon from Botched and husband of rock star Heather Dubrow, who told her in early 2025 that her facial issue appeared to be an infectious process or a foreign body reaction to something she's had injected. That pointed toward filler, which pointed toward procedures she'd had done, which turned out to be almost right, but not quite. The actual answer arrived in February 2026 through a sonogram. A technician performing a routine scan looked at Brandi's results and reportedly said, "Brandi, you need to get those out yesterday." The breast implants, the ones she'd had for almost 20 years. Brandi's right implant had completely ruptured. Her left had a slow leak. Silicone had spread throughout her lymph nodes under both arms, through her system. Her lymph nodes were clogged with silicone, which meant the infection that was showing up on her face couldn't drain. The lymphatic system, which is supposed to filter and move fluid through the body, was blocked. The parasite component of her condition, which did exist, was being trapped and sustained by the silicone blockage. She went outside her Beverly Hills doctor's office and told TMZ, "Mine had completely ruptured, and I had silicone all over my lymph nodes. That's what caused the infection in my face and couldn't get out because my lymph nodes were all clogged." She added, "I was shocked because they're implants that I've had for almost 20 years. They looked fine. They felt fine. The mammogram said they were fine. It wasn't until I had a sonogram." The lesson she's been telling everyone since: change your breast implants every 10 years. She didn't. She paid for it with 3 years of her life, her appearance, her income, and her mental health. After the implants were removed in early February 2026, she began laser treatments to address the lingering facial damage. She told TMZ, "It just sucks to age 20 years overnight," but she also said, "I feel great. I've been home for 3 years. I can't rest." Which brings us, finally, to May 21st, 2026. Brandi was loose, candid, and as always, completely without filter. "I feel like I might have it." She then explained the full situation. She had recently dated someone who worked in the adult entertainment industry. She added, laughing, that she didn't have the heart to tell him that ship had sailed, she's past childbearing age, and wasn't going clear's throat to correct his assumption. The problem, this person also did a lot of wrestling. Ringworm, despite its name, is not caused by a worm at all. It is a fungal infection, technically called tinea, that affects the skin, nails, or hair. It spreads through skin contact and is extremely common in combat sports, wrestling, and contact athletics, where it passes rapidly through direct touch. It produces circular, raised patches on the skin. Because the condition is so highly contagious, a newer, more severe strain of ringworm has emerged in recent years that has been linked to sexual contact, specifically to oral and skin-to-skin transmission between partners. This is the strain Brandi is concerned about, specifically because she believes she may have it lodged in her throat, which, given what she described about her recent sexual encounters, is not a logical leap. She said she had already undergone multiple tests for more common, sexually transmitted infections in her throat, all of which came back negative. The ringworm possibility only occurred to her recently, she said. After learning about it, I really just heard about ringworm yesterday, and they can apparently burrow in. If it's in your throat, they can burrow deep into your ears and all that. Ringworm is widely underdiagnosed because most people don't know what to look for, and that the patches can be mistaken for other skin conditions. She noted that the adult industry has had to develop explicit screening protocols because of how quickly it spreads between performers. As of the podcast date, Brandi had not yet been formally diagnosed with ringworm. She is concerned. She is, by her own telling, in the process of figuring it out.